Hello, I'm Angie Moreski. Thanks for joining us for Smart Health, the place for a fresh perspective on medical and health news. Our partner is healthystate.org, a project among public broadcast stations around Florida. Be sure to check out the healthystate.org website to see what's happening with health news, trends, and policy in our state. First, a new tool for a timely problem. We continue to see the devastating impact of war. Servicemen and women who are fortunate enough to return home often do so with amputations or burns covering their bodies. But another type of injury is less visible and often more complicated to treat. Brain injuries caused by those dreaded IEDs, improvised explosive devices. They can cause trauma that impacts a soldier for the rest of his or her life. Now the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital in Tampa is using a technology familiar to these young soldiers to heal the wounds we can't see. May 23rd, Kunar Province, Afghanistan. It happened in an instant. A routine patrol in an armored vehicle ends in disaster.
I don't have a lot of movement.
Army Sergeant Anthony Torres doesn't remember much about the bomb that altered the course of his life. But he does remember every day the 4 soldiers who died that morning. Anthony was the only survivor.
Why me? Just why am I alive? It's just God wanted me here, so.
Now a Purple Heart and a long path to recovery. Anthony is in the Polytrauma Transitional Rehabilitation Unit at the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital in Tampa. He's recovering from several broken bones and a shattered right foot, which he almost lost.
I guess the doctors are pretty smart, and they just, well, let's try to put it together. And they put 11 screws and 1 plate.
Oh, we're just working on your balance here.
But there is another wound, one that's less visible, but may have an even greater impact on Anthony's future.
As war tactics change, then the injuries change.
Dr. Stephen Scott is director of the Polytrauma Rehab Unit. He says beyond the more obvious injuries, wounded soldiers are returning with long-lasting concussion-like problems.
A lot of individuals came back and they weren't like they were before. It's much like watching a boxer get punched real hard and then sort of wobble around and not know what corner to go back to. And they don't look like they have an injury. You don't see it. It's not visualized, you know. In many ways, that's what these individuals are like.
These traumatic brain injuries from bomb blasts can impact the most basic executive functioning, like remembering an appointment or performing a simple task, even putting words together.
In a conversation, I could just go like, okay, what are we talking about? I get lost, so I have to think more.
Many times we don't identify and recognize those components until you actually get home. When you suddenly have to organize your day, suddenly have to organize your life and plan that out.
Researchers and physicians knew they needed a bridge between the hospital and home for traumatic brain injury patients, something more than the traditional forms of rehab already in place. To do that, they've created a sort of smart home.
So Anthony's coming in right now.
The system uses tags and sensors to monitor a patient's location and progress around the clock. The system prompts them to stay on schedule and complete tasks, all the while training their brains to do these things more and more independently. Here's an example of how it might work. If Anthony forgets to take a medication, the system senses his proximity and gives him a reminder message. Patients are prompted to interact with their smart home, including checking out when they leave.
Sometimes I just would walk right out and like, okay, I forgot something. Once I'm leaving, it just, the bell, bing, bing. Hey, I need to check out.
It works because it's based upon what we know about neuroscience and just how the brain actually functions or continues to recover.
Researcher Jan Jazowitz helped develop the system. He says it trains the brain to help think through tasks and eventually accomplish them without prompting.
Everybody has strategies to try to remember certain sequences, and that's what we're after.
If we don't rehab the brain, all these other things and healing the bones don't make a lot of difference.
Dr. Scott says returning to our war heroes some of what they lost with these injuries shows this country's values.
The things that we treasure in our society, that's what they represent. And that's what we want to give back to them.
Recovering from traumatic brain injury isn't easy or quick, but Anthony has some powerful motivators.
For the family. For the family. I think I'm gonna get better, so I guess it's part of my life now.
He is still, after all, the strong soldier.
Yes, the infantryman.
Doctors say this could revolutionize the way traumatic brain injuries are treated. As the technology develops, recovering soldiers will be able to use it in the comfort of their own homes beyond the inpatient facilities like the one at the VA.